In the past videos of the series, we pulled various business documents from the file system, interpreted their path as business properties, and enriched the migration item with such. Now, the goal is to store these binary files into an AWS S3 bucket alongside their related metadata. This whole operation is explained in detail in the Fast2 official website, although we'll do things a little bit differently here, namely by storing the metadata into a JSON file instead of an XML. And we will split the S3 push operation in two to upload first the main content and then the metadata file alongside. These changes are available thanks to recent updates of the tool between the edition of the cookbook and today. So let's grab the workflow from where we left it off last time. From the catalog, we will use the AWS injector module to push the main content into the bucket. For this, let's rename the task so we know it just focuses on the main content. We then need to specify the bucket which we want our documents into eventually. As for the credentials, we must provide the access key, the region in which our bucket is located, and the secret access key for successful authentication. As for the file itself, we want it stored into the destination folder, which will be created on the fly by Fast2, and the final name of our document in this folder. Since all files already have a proper name, we'll just ask Fast2 to retrieve dynamically the value stored under the data called file name and use it as the name. Let's run and see the results so far. We can read here that all our documents got uploaded successfully, and the S3 key of these objects is now accessible by Fast2. Again, this is a purely migration-oriented data, and we will need this data in the next steps. Now that the content is stored in S3, we need to focus on the metadata that must be pushed as well under a JSON file. Chances are, just a few metadata will have an importance to us later on, so let's do some cleaning beforehand. For this, we will use again a JavaScript task with the script from the Fast2 knowledge base. Let's first add the necessary imports to handle the list of the metadata we either want to keep or get rid of. Then, let's add all the data we want to keep. Of course, we have the metadata from the original folder path, but we might also wish to keep the file name, the S3 key of the content, which means where it has been stored in S3, and some other stuff. Now, for each document from our migration item, let's copy the current existing list of all the data to prevent concurrent modification errors. For every data held by the document, if it does not belong to the whitelist, we will remove it. Bonus, we can also delete all folder references of this migration item since it has no interest for us anymore. The main content of the migration now is on the S3 bucket, although the original one is still on the local NAS repository. We need to update this reference in the migration item so it better reflects where the content to use for the migration is stored. For this, let's pick a task from the catalog whose purpose is to attach content. The path of the content is the same S3 key that Fast2 stored once the push operation happened successfully. But since the old content path is no longer up to date, we need to replace it with this new path, which is why this option here can be enabled, but make sure this assertion option is disabled, since Fast2 will not be able to interpret this S3 path. Let's run and see how that goes. So the old references got erased and replaced by the S3 one. So now this property is also up to date. Okay, so our properties are clean now. Let's pick from the catalog a task to write them into a JSON file. Technically speaking, this is a step of serialization, hence the task name. We need to ask for the output format to be in JSON syntax, otherwise that'll just be XML. And let's run to see what that gives us. By default, Fast2 will store this output file into the files folder as specified into the configuration of the tool, then in a folder named after the campaign, and a subfolder named after the task name. The file name will be the document ID of the migration item. Once generated, we can retrieve this created JSON content and attach it to our migration item. Again, this is the main content, migrationally speaking, to push to the bucket. And for that, let's grab again the module to add this as a content and check this option to make sure we are embedding the associated file and not a ghost one. We can replace any existing content since Fast2 does not need to know about it anymore. Final step of this workflow, inject into S3. We already use such a module, so we can just duplicate it. That way it will have all the credentials already declared. As for the file name, we want this to be a combination of the document ID, which is the name of the original file from the local NAS, the suffix properties, so we will know we are talking about the metadata files and not the main document contents that could happen to be a JSON file as well, and the JSON extension. Our workflow is now complete, so let's run it to make sure the overall behavior meets our business needs highlighted at the very beginning of this video. From the bucket standpoint, we now have all our documents paired with their metadata in JSON, ready for any further operation.